what it feels like to me.
Okay, gotcha.
Like the body's changing.
Everything's changing. Everything. Like so rapidly, right?
Isn't it cool?
It's very cool. It's a really amazing time to be alive.
Yeah, it is. How's it going on your end?
Not bad. Like we're just, I'm just reshuffling and refocusing which direction I'm taking things now. And, one thing I've found that's really interesting is all these male twin flames have been coming to me.
Really?
And they're like, I don't know what twin flames are and what the fuck is this? And, and they're like, can you help me? And so, you know how there's no veil left? I think this is the way forward for all relationships. Like they're all coming in to just give us this intense growth and to show us that our mission here is all about unconditional love for self. And if we lean in and we do the work, we can have an amazing relationship with someone else. So I've only just figured this out in the last couple of days. So that's what's happening over here.
And if I remember correctly, you have, don't you have a child at the house?
I've got 2 girls.
2 girls. They're like teenagers?
No, 7 and 5.
Oh, 7 and 5. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's an eye opener, I bet.
Big time. They're massive mirrors for me.
Have you noticed anything in them change over the last year and a half, since this whole COVID thing started beginning of 2020? Have you seen, like, energetically, do you see anything through them that?
I think they've, because I've been really trying to keep their vibration high and not be affected too much by all this craziness. My eldest daughter, she sees things, she predicts things, and that's getting stronger.
Mm.
Yeah. And so, she's, that's been a real positive. The whole COVID stuff has given her a fair bit of anxiety, especially with returning back to school. My youngest daughter doesn't want to go to school at all. She hates school.
True diamond child, right?
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's kind of it. That's all I've really noticed within them.
Now, what part of Australia are you in?
Melbourne.
Oh my God, you're right there in the hot spot.
Yeah, the lockdown capital, that's where we are.
Wasn't that amazing what happened yesterday?
Yeah, oh my God. When I saw that, I was like, yes, like this is, everyone is starting to put their sword up and fight for the freedom and no longer be victims. So I was so excited when I saw that yesterday. Yeah. What about over there? What's going on over there?
In regard to that, it's all over the place. I mean, 50 states, 50 different ways, but you've got Florida and Texas that are no mask. Then you got Los Angeles, which is mask, and you got a sheriff in Los Angeles saying, I'm not going to enforce the mask.
Oh,
so you got all these different, and then you have the federal government, which is just stupid. I mean, I'm not saying this for political reason or anything. I think everybody should just make their own choice about everything. It is about sovereignty, but it's cartoonish, it's distorted, and it's expanding, but at the same time we are.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There seemed to be, I watched probably, probably 15 minutes live. They were walking down the street, and I probably watched a collective hour and a half of when they were at the park, I believe. And it was pretty interesting to see the feminine footprint. Like, they were out there.
Yeah.
And they were vocal. That was very impressive.
Yeah. It is.
You think that's a sign of the times?
I think so. Yeah. I think that's what the feminine, the feminine should be doing in an empowered way, leading the way. I think, I think that, the more men I work with, the more I realize that, like, our men have been so conditioned to be shut down and shut off and not be in their king energy that I think we need to start helping each other here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if she starts walking, he don't have much of a choice. She starts marching.
That's true.
But that's kind of what I see. It's like this, that energy can hold space. It can nurture. It can be judicious. And at some point it says, hey, that's enough. No more. That's what it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, too, like as a mother, I don't want my kids to be experimented on. I don't want my kids to be locked up. I want them to have freedom, like I want them to be, to live in a place where they have their own choice and free will. And so, are we live?
Oh, yeah. We've been live for 6 minutes and 9 seconds.
Oh, hey, everyone.
It took a couple of minutes, but yeah, we're good. We got 23 people in the house.
Okay.
And we're getting suppressed big time on YouTube and Facebook. So if you could share it to one page, that'd be cool.
I will, absolutely. I found that on my Facebook, my business Facebook page. I've been shut down and minimal people are seeing my stuff. So I'm moving more to YouTube and doing more stuff on YouTube now as well.
Are you under Athena Spark on YouTube?
And Anthea Spark.
Anthea.
Yeah.
No wonder I couldn't get it to pull up.
Yeah, Anthea Spark. Yeah.
These 3D things. So it's ANTHEA?
Yes.
No wonder. I'll go back and change it and tag you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Have you now you say you have a pretty consistent flow of clients, don't you?
Yeah, it varies, Yeah.
But I mean, what are you seeing this year? Like last year seemed to be everybody's in their own space. And then like maybe March we come out of it, it's been just, one activation after another. Are you seeing anything in your clients? Like, are you seeing any kind of pattern or anything?
So what I'm really seeing is that people are, a lot of people come to me after a relationship breakdown, or like I said to you earlier, they're having this twin flame. They've had this twin flame relationship, and they're coming to me and they're like, "What is this? How do I navigate my way through it? What do I need to do to begin to heal myself?" And the thing that I've found, which is really amazing, and I'm very excited about it, is that people are ready to go within and heal themselves. They know it comes from childhood. They know it comes from conditioning. They know that if they're going to be happy with this person, if they want to invest in a relationship with this person, that they have to do the inner work. And I've had an influx of men come through in the last month, which is amazing because I really love working with men. I love working with women too, but people are really ready to uncondition themselves. Yeah, people are really aware of how we've been conditioned by society, by our upbringing, how our beliefs navigate us. Like, it's really a really beautiful time. So I'm really excited by it because I'm like, wow, I wonder what's going to happen when everyone starts to really raise their vibration.
It looks like it's happening. I don't know to what degree, but it looks like it's happening.
It is. Yeah.
I don't know what the real numbers are, and really any issues just an opportunity to measure it and try to get there. But because if it's not a vaccine or a virus or other propaganda, it's this or that or the other thing. It doesn't really matter. But there does seem to be kind of in a good way, a showdown. And the showdown, because, think about everything that these communities talk about and what the conversation has evolved to, which is in a big part embodiment. Now, what better way than to be faced with an energetic decision to either, whatever your choice is, it's your choice. Don't get me wrong, but to be able to be put in a situation where you have to walk the talk to the nth degree. I've seen people talking about, and a couple of people with pretty big platforms, and they weren't being sensationalistic. They just said, "Look, I'm you can do whatever you want to me, but I'm not doing it." And whether it's that or somebody ending a relationship that's imbalanced or toxic, or whether it's a job that's toxic, or whether whatever. People are moving toward what they align with from the heart and their feelings.
Absolutely. And what that's doing is it's helping them access their spiritual gifts. You know, like people are, you know, getting messages from friends and clients, and they're like, I had this profound dream where I saw clearly what was happening. And, you know, when they investigated, they found out that that was happening. And so the more we flow from our heart and the more we align to all of who we are, the more our spiritual gifts are waking up, right? We're realizing how powerful we are, our ability to telepathically communicate, and how powerful our intuition is. And, you know, something that's really profound is when we go against what our intuition is telling us, we begin to suffer in the body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Anything that goes against that instinct, we're feeling it one way or the other. But the body is pretty loud. It's you know, you asked me how I was doing. I mean, it's killing me today. I mean, it's a challenge to sit here right now. But I also know it's good. I can feel the transformation.
Yeah.
Physically. And then there's a thing that you brought up too, which is the higher sensitivities and abilities. Like that's kind of mind blowing.
Mm.
And I've been asking people and asking myself, how do I expand this? And the only thing I can come up with is to engage it and play with it.
Yes.
Just like we do in dimension, but you know, it's in our imagination. We're in the physical, we're conscious, and who knows, maybe we can do what we do in the non-physical in the physical.
Absolutely. You know, and I think, you know, like our mind has no limitations, right? The body has some, but the mind has none. And the more we expand that and open that up and remove any negativity and remove the constraints that have been put upon us, the body follows.
Yeah.
Body follows, you know, because everything that we think about ourselves, we manifest in our physical body.
Yeah. And I wonder if we're getting to a point now where the physical is dictating everything. Like some of the things that are happening with the body, not only its voice getting louder, the connection getting stronger and clearer, people making lifestyle changes, not really out of judgment. It just, something's happening. Like get ready, you know, theoretically it would make sense. You've got to be light at a higher frequency, so to speak.
Yes.
And we know we're in a very dense environment. I mean, and I've had over the last, I don't know, few days, just reflections of, wow, we did this. Like, you know, like just even like going into the ethers and kind of checking out past lives or past eras even, and just seeing the wars and the challenges and the hardships and pioneering and any and all the above. And it's like, we are amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, last year I ran guided activations every Saturday night. Like here in Melbourne, we were in lockdown for 3 months at a time. And I was like, what can I do? I was about to start running meditations from this yoga studio near my house. And I was like, well, I'm going to have to do it online now. And I just did it for free to help people raise their vibration. And, you know, one thing that I really explored was the crystalline grid, right? And so for those of you who don't know what the crystalline grid is, it's this energetic field that surrounds the earth, and it has an imprint of everything that has ever been, everything that has ever happened, every war. That's why you can go to a sacred place and you can feel the energy, right? You can feel empowered, you can feel sadness, you can feel whatever. And as what's happening is we're actually clearing out the crystalline grid is being cleared out, and the darkness is being cleared out of the crystalline grid. And we have to just stick to it because we're nearly there, you know, like it's working its way out. Just like when we go in and we do our own inner work, we have to go in and work through our shadow, you know, and it's in the darkness where we find our true power, where we find our spiritual gifts, where we find our light. You know, it's not in the light where we find our true light and our courage. It's in the darkness. And I just wanted to share that, you know, to hopefully give people some hope that, you know, better times are coming. We're all putting this positive imprint in the crystalline grid, and that's going to affect everything in a really powerful way. So, yeah. Are you okay?
Yes. No. Okay. Thank you for asking.
That's okay.
But I realize that part of what we're going through is this is the norm, right? Like this is the norm as a result of what you're talking about, and really all originating from our own self reprogramming or enlightenment or illumination. So, but yeah, so it's like, I can do this. I can function. I just went up to the little store in the corner to get some chocolate because I thought, well, maybe that'll help me out a little bit.
Yeah.
It did kind of for like 20 seconds, and then I got sick again. But no, it's like it's the frequency or the pace of change and transformation is really taking hold. So I'm looking at like going, you know, I'm past, and I think a lot of people are judging themselves for not doing this and not doing that. It's like because there's a lot of rest involved and different rhythms of the body, different sleep patterns, but still just trying to get up and do it. I don't know. It's, to me, there's that chopping wood, carry water, you know, kind of a thing with it, right? So I don't know.
Look, it is really challenging, you know, because everything's changing so rapidly, right? And as the earth moves and the human resonance speeds up and slows down and speeds up, we have to become really adaptable, right? We can still be like, I want to go over there. But if we get a roadblock, we just have to pivot and go in a different direction. But we're so conditioned to just like stop at that roadblock and be like, you know, like fall apart, take weeks to recover, tell that story for years. But now we don't have time for that. And if you don't keep expanding and transforming and shifting and being adaptable like water flowing through a river, your physical body, your emotional body, your spiritual body will start to become defragmented. So it's really important that you just become adjustable and you keep changing and flowing. And if you do, you know, there's going to be moments where you're like, damn, I'm really sad today, right? And if you just allow yourself to feel that, it actually disperses quickly. And then you can keep going. And so lightness, like you were saying before with food, really important to be light, eat light food, eat high frequency food, be physically light in weight, in emotions, because our heavy emotions, they anchor us down, right? And we can't afford to be vibrating in anger and guilt and shame and sadness and depression. We need to be elevating ourselves. And so every day, it's really important to hit the reset button and recalibrate. Like every day, this is what I do in my own personal practice every day, because this is what I'm finding is the only way forward. Every day is bringing a new energy, you know?
What about if you have to recalibrate like 6 times a day?
So that's okay.
As long as you get it done that day, I guess. I don't know.
That's okay too. And I think, too, it's really important to sleep. Like if your body is telling you, hey, I'm wrecked, pull out, take a time out. If you need to have 3 naps a day, you do that because your body needs time to recalibrate, you know?
Yes. And you mentioned the emotional body, the mental body, physical body, and used the word defragging. And I mean, obviously there's more than just the physical body and even the mental and the emotional tied to the human being, let's just say. what can you speak to on that? I mean, how do you keep those in balance? How do you keep them in alignment? What is defragging to you? And is there a refragging?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is. Okay, so for me, and this is everything I teach comes from personal experience, right? So what I realized was that when I started to live in the integrity of who I am, everything started to align. Okay. And what I mean by that is that everything that I say, do, believe, how I act, it is all aligned. Okay. I do not allow myself to get away with one misalignment, because if I do, that's when I start to experience suffering. Okay. I start to experience pain, or I start to defragment, and I leave pieces of me in different places on different timelines. Now, and that's been probably the most powerful thing, right? Having my daily practices where I do breath work, I recalibrate every day, I do physical exercise, I meditate, I set up my mindset in a powerful way. All of these things help me stay aligned. Okay, speaking my truth in an empowered way, operating from my heart, all of that stuff, trying to see everyone through the eyes of love. Okay. Because when I don't, I'm going into suspicion and judgment and, looking at someone as if they're guilty of something, or that they've tried to hurt me, or whatever it is. So that stuff comes from childhood trauma and adulthood trauma. Okay. So when we're children and we experience trauma, often what we do is we disassociate from our physical body. Our soul leaves the physical body to be able to cope with the trauma. And then when we come back, when the soul comes back, not all of it comes back. Okay. And so a part of our soul is trapped on a timeline in the past, still feeling angry, still feeling hurt, still not trusting in people, because the people that should have loved us when we were little hurt us, abused us, attacked us. Okay. Now, as an adult, if you don't bring that part of your soul forward, it will control you in negative ways in your adult life. Okay? So when you get triggered and you react, and then when you calm down, you're like, shit, I didn't handle that very well. I should have asked a question instead of assuming they were out to hurt me, or That's that younger part of you stepping in and unleashing 20, 30 years worth of anger for something this person didn't even do. Okay. And so the way that we bring that part back in and we refragment, like you said, ourselves, right, is we connect with them. And this is what I take my clients through. We connect with them through guided meditation, and we bring them into our lives, and we work on that relationship with self, and we get that younger part of us to trust us again. And we nurture that part of us. It's almost like when you physically hurt yourself, you physically cut yourself, it takes time for that wound to heal, right? So I'm gonna nurture it. I'm not just gonna leave that wound to bleed, right? I'm gonna put a Band-Aid on it. I'm gonna put whatever I need to put on it to help it heal. We have to bring that younger part of us in and help that younger part of us feel safe. And that's where we start to be able to trust others again, because now we're trusting ourselves, right? And that's how you do it, because everything is a mirror. Everything and everyone is a mirror, and they're here to teach us something really profound about ourselves. And the more we tap into that, right, the more we realize that we actually create everything based on our thoughts and our emotions and how we see the world.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not what you're seeing, it's what you send out from what you see, right?
Correct. Yeah, correct. Yeah, and so that's how powerful our mind is. That's why it's so important to understand how the mind works and to take full control of it. Because if you don't control your mind, it starts to control you. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if I can make it through this show. No, I'm kidding. I'll make it. It'll be interesting to see because like when you started talking right now, you started with the whole basis of it all, really, and explained it so well. The the fact that, you began by making the choice to choose yourself, do what's best for you, align with that universal you, and then everything starts to come together. To see what that type of energy coming from so many individuals around the world, for lack of a better word, as it comes together and clashes with that energy that you saw, not specific to this example only, but that you saw represented by fully geared police force in those demonstrations yesterday, bully tactics. I'm not trying to come down on it. I'm just saying I think it's going to be very interesting to see if that energy that they represent will be able to penetrate into these individuals that are carrying the energy that you're carrying, and I would presume there are many, many, many of them around the world. Be interesting. I think we're going to kick their ass, though.
Well, I think you know what I see, and I really focus on trying to have a deep sense of compassion for everyone, right? Even the police, even the nurses.
Yeah.
Like, I really feel like we're all caught up in this web of manipulation, right? Of narcissism, right? Now we're all, you've probably heard, everyone's probably heard the term narcissism being thrown around so much in the last couple of years, right? But the thing is that we have been conditioned from childhood in a narcissistic way, which is all about manipulation and control, right? And a lot of us, or some of us, may have even had parents who had strong narcissistic qualities. And because we've been conditioned that way, we all have the ability to be narcissistic, right?
That's right. That's a very good point. Not only that, we probably all have been.
Correct.
In proportion to our experience. It could be a conversation with one person. It could be one relationship with another person. Yeah, 100%.
And, it's not because when most of us are not even aware of it until we do the inner work and we're like, oh my God, that's how I behaved in my marriage, or that's what I did to that person. And the thing is that most of us haven't emotionally matured past the age of 15, okay? No one teaches us how to be emotionally mature, how to communicate, how to lean into someone and be vulnerable and say, hey, this is who I am, and you're really scaring me right now because you're so lovely and I really want to connect with you deeper, but I don't know how to do that. I want you to be really gentle with me, and I have wounds and I have this. We're not taught how to do that, right? And so when it comes time to fight for our freedom, we're like, yeah, but inside I'm 15. What am I meant to do? And most people surrender to the control and the manipulation because they're not aware that this is exactly what's going on.
Well, I think the cat's out of the bag or the rabbit's out of the hat.
And it's getting there, and we're seeing that right now all around the world. Yeah. People are standing up, and it's beautiful. Like it's.
Well, and again, it's not what's being seen. It's what we do with it. And I noticed when I was watching it yesterday, I was watching it with Morgan. You can watch it when you're instant messaging. You can pull up a video.
Yeah.
And I really didn't get charged, other than one thing. I didn't get charged. I was actually kind of excited. We both were. Wow, this is just like you were when I brought it up. But there was one point where there was a lady, and they were the police had a wall, and they were like taking a step and and they were pushing her. And like a lot of the people that were out there, she looked like a normal suburban housewife. I mean, it gave me a charge. Yeah. And I thought, and I think I even spoke it. I said, I'm going to have a little more work to do, because to me, that's really what matters. What matters is it's not what's revealed. It's how we react to it, and how are we going to perpetuate separation and self-righteousness and remain looking at everything from this lower vantage point, if you will, or are we going to walk the talk and look at it from, or not look at it, Maybe we're not looking at it because we're doing what you're doing, which is to thine own self be true and handling your own universe every day in a conscious lifestyle, moment by moment.
Well, I've been reflecting on that a lot, and look, the thing is that we know that, it's been proven that when a group of people meditate, it lowers crime rates.
Yeah.
Changes things, right? So if we believe in the divine and we believe that there are light beings who are working in our favor to help us get out of this mess, right? Then all we have to do is visualize the solution, visualize ourselves already having our freedom.
Yeah.
Because, when you want to manifest something and you want to manifest a person, say, right? And you just know what you want, and then they come in in the most profound way. And you're like, I would have never imagined that I would have met this person like this, right? The universe orchestrated this because that's what you wanted, right? And all you did was you just focused on how good you were going to feel when you had that person by your side. So I wonder what would happen, Todd, if there were a group of people just focusing on freedom and creating the universe we actually want to live in, as opposed to, fighting. Like I still believe that there has to be, there's like a combination of things. And I think that I love the fact that people are going out there and raising their swords for our freedom. Yeah. But I also think that there's so much power in using this to create what we want.
Yes. Yes. Well, and everything's wide open. Like, for instance, if you look at some of the narratives, the mini narratives that talk about the real story behind the story, right? Which you can go back to lots of things, Book of Enoch, Genesis with the Nephilim, or whatever it is. And the degree of malevolent higher intelligence or beings and their influence. So number one, what you said a minute ago, there is at a minimum, of course you got to question everything if you're going to be open. So is it even true or is it just programming? But even if it were, there is that other side to it in our personal communication and relationship with the universe. We know dark and light. So, and plenty of people have had experiences and still do with higher aspects of ourselves. So that's there. There's no doubt. It's not, by conventional terms, mainstream, but I don't think that for 1 second that there seems to be a momentum. I don't know exactly when it happened, but in the last year and a half, certainly, where we've reached way past the tipping point. Like, this is going down. Yeah. And I think the other thing, as far as being open, is not only does it look like, if you go back, say, 10 years and look at these communities and what's happened, what's been predicted, it not only does it seem like we have direct influence, if not control, from a conscious place of where we go and what we create and so on, but also in the speed. Because I remember hearing several, prominent platforms say, 2015, 16, 17, this is going to be 50 years or whatever. I mean, it feels very imminent. So there's a lot going for us. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's a lot of positive stuff coming. We just don't really, and that's the thing. We drop into the how. Well, yeah, but how? How are we going to get out of this? How am I going to be free? How are we ever going to live in harmony ever again, or whatever it is, right? And we forget about the vision. And so there is a lot to be positive about and to look forward to. We just have to keep that vision alive. You know, I think too, we're really starting to see positive stuff coming through, like what we saw yesterday. And that's why that's why I was so excited about it. I was like, yes, finally, there's the proof. It's coming through. We're seeing it.
Yeah, no doubt. And especially if you can see it, because anything that comes on most of these platforms, most of these, media venues, internet platforms, be they, local television stations or whatever. But so you have to question a little bit, but that kind of thing, it's not just going to bleed through. It came through loud and clear. I mean, there's not much you can do when you got unexpectedly with the mask mandate, with restrictions in place, you have 3,500 people show up and start marching down the street with no mask. There's not a whole lot you can do.
No, that's
especially when everyone has a camera and
exactly.
And you can't stop that footage, at least in real time from being put out there.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of the internet, like I saw it on TikTok. I saw raw footage on TikTok from the march, and I was like, they can't filter that out. Like you said, everyone's got a camera. Everyone's starting to see what's actually going on. So yeah.
And I hate to sound like a broken record because I have no political thoughts whatsoever, period. It's no big deal. But to watch the American president, I'm just like going, I mean, and it's such an example of the rest of the distortion. It really is. I mean, it's and that's why I'm just like totally intrigued by watching the whole thing, because I'm thinking, wow, so we're expanding as individuals, this type of energy that you represent and so many people, that's a force. It has to be reckoned with. It's not going to stop. It's literally not going to stop. And then you see the expansion of the distortion, where I guess the leader of the free world or whatever can't carry on a conversation when it's just him and the host standing on a stage having a conversation in front of a few people. It's just mind blowing, and I don't know. It's weird because you wonder, well, is that just going to drop away? How does this work? How does this actually happen? Do we wake up in our light bodies one day? I mean.
Well, and I don't watch the news. I don't watch TV. I haven't in 5 years. It's the best decision I ever made, right? Because it was just lowering my vibration. But I think, and I have watched a few little clips here and there, but what I think has happened here is that, everyone's been talking about the veil's getting thinner and the veil's getting thinner. Well, the veil's gone, right? We're not hypnotized by our conditioning anymore, right? Because more and more people are waking up, which means if I'm waking up, it's going to affect my neighbor because my vibration's rising, which means even if she's not awake, her vibration's going to rise too.
Yeah.
And people are starting to see through the eyes of truth. Okay. Yeah. And so the people, the politicians, and they've always been like this. It's us who are changing. It's not them. They've always been like this. We've just been hypnotized and conditioned, and we're like, oh, okay, right? But we're waking up. Yeah. And in fact, we were zombified before, but now we're coming out of that. And so it is a really beautiful time to be alive, and we're seeing the truth. Okay. And so I think that's what's happening. What's happening is we're changing. And this is why I keep going on and on about changing your internal state and healing your wounds and raising your vibration. Because when you live in the integrity of who you are, you see everyone's truth without judgment. You just observe it and you're like, okay, that's interesting. I'm going this way now. I'm not going to spend any more time with this person. Right? Anytime we judge someone, even if it's a politician, or we get angry because a politician's saying something, he's our teacher. We've got some inner work to do. You want to get to the point where you see all of this stuff, you have no reaction, and you go along your merry way in living in the integrity of who you are, because that's how you become really powerful. Yeah, so that's my mission. My mission is to help more and more people live in the integrity of who they are and become powerful and become whole. Yeah. That's how you get everything you want.
Yeah. You're right. The veils are gone. That was very well put.
Thank you.
They're actually gone.
Yeah.
It's another metaphorically speaking, another example of like the projection, like Franco de Nicola talks about the inverted matrix projection was shut down January 2020. That's his narrative, his intel. And that the only thing that perpetuates it is our own programming from it, because it's no longer being supported. So to me, what you're saying is very much the same thing. Are you finding it any challenge at all in how you communicate and connect as those things seem to have been changed in how we do them? Does that make sense?
I think so. So you're asking me how I communicate with others?
Well, you had mentioned, for instance, the way that telepathy is expanded, intuition, personal decisions. A lot of people following the template that you are yourself, that you describe of yourself, and that you are. But like, it's affecting what a true connection is. It's affecting how we communicate. There's some alignments, realignments, like as in reformations. There's going the other way in all aspects of our lives, with people, places, things. But like, have you on a personal level had to adjust your game at all? I mean, like, have you gone like, wow, I don't need to answer these messages, or seeing where your behavior might have changed as you pulled out of the old program and aligned with the new one?
So the biggest thing that I noticed was that there was, the more I came into the integrity of who I am, the more my reality changed. So the less certain messages would come through. Or I did a post the other day actually, and someone put a comment on my post that was, it was very harsh, right? And I'm not one to take anything personally. It was like, I need to say something here, right? And so I think that was a lesson for me to use my voice, because often I play it safe a bit. I play it safe. And so I realized that message came through as an opportunity for me to use my voice and push back and just set my boundary, right? But what I'm finding is there's this deeper sense of ease in my life, in my connections with others. It's become easier and easier and easier. So the more I stay within who I am, in my own integrity, the less the universe sends me chaos and drama and all of that kind of stuff. And the other thing that I'm finding too, which I absolutely love, is that new people that I'm connecting with, right, are actually, it's just this open-hearted connection straight away like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I connected with this really beautiful man last night on Facebook. I got this strong message to connect with him, and we started chatting last night, and it was just this beautiful open-hearted conversation. And I'm like, that's what I love. I want more of that. I want more people who are open-hearted, and the universe is sending them.
Far out.
Yeah.
Far out.
Yeah.
God, what's it going to be like when January 1st, 2022?
I know.
Just the numbers jump out at you, right?
Yeah.
2022. Any days with twos in it.
Yeah.
For an entire year.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to next year. I mean, this is it's a 5. This year's a 5. Endings and beginnings. No wonder there's so much chaos,
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? What are you finding other than your physical body? What else are you finding is transforming? And what are you seeing, Todd? Because you talk to so many different people. What are you seeing?
There's so much to see that I can't. I mean, I can stop and think about this for a second, but there's so many places to go with it. Everything's expanding. And I think what you said about the integrity thing is important, because that's the no bullshit meter.
Yes.
That's the universal no bullshit kind of thing, and it works. And I think with the letting go of judgment and self-deprecation, which I think we've all done well with this. we can move past, so to speak, the transgressions, which are really the echoes of the programming that we fell into. But the amount of transformation, when you look at it, I'm a history buff. So when you look at it, it's absolutely extraordinary. Because if you go back 100 years, now you're in the golden age, the roaring 20s. You've got the Industrial Revolution began. And really you have the imprint of what it would say post-World War II, where you have the subdivisions and everybody has a retirement plan and it's all cookie cutter and all that. If you think of, and television's rolled out, radio's been out for a while, and we could talk about a lot of propaganda machines like Mockingbird or whatever you want. But my point is, think about who we were and what our level of awareness was then. Not to be diminishing ourselves. This is our journey. This is our hero's journey. And then you get to, like the 80s with the Cold War, with Reagan and Russia. And then you have, the whole Clinton, Bush, all the same kind of Obama. And so it just starts steamrolling. And then on or about 2012, the internet really explodes. Like it had been around, but it really exploded. And the level of information and code transformed back and forth, the expansion of telepathy through this medium. And here we are. We are learning at a pace that we were when we were children. Absolutely. And we're and that's literally flipping the axis on its head by that act alone. So I can look at so many things. I think probably the most, other than say strictly personal, but I look at this thing as we're in the external, we're in physical matter. And I have, let's say, my theoretically, I have created my internal reality. So let's just say I have a partner, Morgan Lee. And that's a physical creation that's a reflection of me. In the last few weeks, and I think this speaks to your question, it's just one specific aspect of a man's existence. Yeah. The level of timelessness, no space, the level of connection, the level of understanding, the level of telepathy and intuition, the level of dimensional activity, all the things has just gone off the charts. And if you look at the paradigm we come from, the expectations, the society's norms, like your life, like people that come on the show's lives, like our lives, it makes no sense at all. So, yeah, when she tells me she meets a lady in Harvey Bay who happened to see her on Facebook, who was visiting for a few days, 62 years old, 5 years ago, walks away from everything. It's the same story over and over. Walks away, is good with it, is not attached, expanding as a person, to thine own self be true. I mean, this is happening all over the place, and particularly with women, particularly with the women like you're talking about, finding your voice like you had to the other day. And by God, better they say something than not at all, because that day's over. We need that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, all I know is that I have to become stronger consistently. I have to work on becoming mentally stronger, right? Because that's what really helps me when all of this unpredictability happens, right? We just, like I was saying before, we just have to keep becoming adaptable and shifting and changing and keep our eye on the outcome we want. But we have to be really mentally strong to do that. so that when we're challenged, we don't fall in a heap and we don't spiral down into mentality, you know. And I think now more than ever before, we really need that, because, I mean, you know, I always think it could be so much worse.
Oh yeah.
What would I need? What would I need if, let's say I got you know, arrested and I got locked up? What would I need to survive that? My mental strength, mental power, more than ever before.
Yeah,
and
that's
so,
true. That's true.
And I'm not saying I'm preparing myself for that, but I'm just, every day this is something that I work on, because I don't know what's coming and I don't know what's going to unfold, and I want to have this unshakable pillar.
Yeah.
And no matter what happens, I'm going to be okay.
The mental body is an interesting mix, because you don't want to be too mental, but it does have that, I don't know how it's almost like flipping a switch when you're in a situation like you're describing. And I've been there, and that's exactly what happened. There was a mental switch. It's interesting you bring this up today too, because this morning I was sitting there in my discombobulation as usual, for an hour. And I was thinking to myself, I was kind of having a personal review. Look what's happening. You're juicing every day. You're giving up a couple of bad habits that, you know, or you're not doing this, you're not doing that, or the body's talking to you, kind of like a collective messages. What does all this mean? And it was like, well, it's all pointing the same direction. And I'm like going, okay, wait a minute. So what? Am I supposed to just only drink juice and water and coconut milk, coconut water, exercise every day, and this whole kind of thing that seemed kind of discipline, but maybe, you know, like the old connotation, like hardcore. Yeah. And so I kind of sat with that. I thought, I wonder, and I didn't try to make a decision, say, oh, I'm going to go do this and do that. But I can kind of feel like it's getting to a point where there's no question in the answer to the question. In other words, it's inevitable, right? And I'm okay with that. And you know, it just feels that way to me.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, it's good. Like you're challenging yourself to do something different, right? And you know, it's that same old thing. Like if you want something you've never had before, you're going to have to do something you've never done before, right?
Yes.
And so, well, if I want to have this amazing relationship with someone, well, I'm going to have to let go of my trauma from the past in my old relationships, you know. But we hold on so tightly to our identity, you know. The wounded ego is like, don't change. That's okay.
It's not, and isn't that the crazy thing is we held on. Let's use past tense.
Yes, we held on.
We held on.
Yeah.
And we thought we were holding on to something or someone, but we were holding on to a part of ourselves that we didn't. And I just love the humor and the paradox of it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. And I love having exchanges because I'm able to do it a lot with Morgan, you know, a couple of times a day. I didn't happen the other day. I mean, where you're just like, you show up, and like when I started this show with you, I felt like my entire inside of my body, cell by cell, was jumping out of my skin. Right.
Yeah.
And then to be able to spend some time in a balanced field of, you know, consciousness or shared space, it makes it kind of cool. It's like a tuning fork, I guess. You know, you just kind of get in that space. I would imagine that might happen with your kids, right? I mean, I can imagine being with kids that age and just hanging around them and not even saying a word and just being in their presence. Same effect.
Yeah, because they're bringing in the new energy, the new consciousness, the new way of, like, they're my greatest teachers. You know, they say the most profound things, and I'm very careful not to shut down their gifts.
Yeah.
You know, like, because I think we all come in with our gifts, but we get them shut down. And if I just sit with them, and I even ask them, I'm like, what do you think about I should do here? Or why do you think people do these things? And if I listen closely, they give me the most profound answers. You know, and sometimes there's hidden messages in what they're saying, and I have to be really present to hear that.
Yeah.
You know, and not only do they reflect back to me my own unhealed childhood things, they also help me heal my inner child.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing.
So I don't remember. I pretty much remember energy. I remember that you had the girls at the house and some of your, and really the energy of your story. And I know you're a practitioner, and I know you put out great stuff because I always steal it. But what's your level of? I say level. I mean, in terms of like communion with the universal, with the I am, that right. What does that look like today for you? I mean, do you channel? Do you have a galactic connection? Do you just hear one voice of the universe? Do you just run on strictly intuition and telepathy and instinct? I
have always been, I feel surrounded by the angels. Like, I feel the energy of the angels. I am guided by them consistently, right? And so, you know, yes, I channel. I mean, I think a lot of this, sometimes I find myself in conversations with people and I'm like, wow, what am I saying? Like, I'm finding what I'm saying it's not coming from me, it's coming through me, you know. But it's the angels. I'm, you know, they're everywhere, and I feel them and I see them and I hear them, and they guide me towards everything, you know.
Does that happen to you when you're speaking your truth and setting boundaries with somebody, or when you're coming out with some really divine message? Right? The reason I say that, because I've heard Morgan and some other women say in the last, I don't know, 2-3 months, is that part of the transformation seems to be really taking hold. And they'll say, it's not even me talking. I'm just telling these people, like, what's up? Like, I'm being direct and putting a boundary down. I've heard several women say that. That's why I was
I think both, Todd, both, you know. Yeah, both. And it's just, because sometimes I'm like, I'll say something and I'm like, oh my God, who am I? Where did that come from? You know,
every time I see something like that, all I can think was like, go girl, go, you know. Some of these posts they're putting out, incredible. She put one out like 4 or 5 days ago, and it was about this. It was about the feminine, right? And all the, like, hundreds of comments. These people, the women, their own stories. Like, it's happening, like on a mass scale, and the vast majority of those, like you said, leading the way, they don't want to be seen, but it's still there. In fact, it's probably more powerful because it's not as it's as loud as it needs to be,
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, you know, one woman, one man actually connecting to all of who they are, it affects all of those people around them. It doesn't have to be shared or seen or known, but it's felt, you know. Mm-hmm. And then that affects other people. And yes, we've got the people who stand up and they use their voice in a really loud way and they're waking people up. And I take my hat off to those people, but not everyone has to do that.
Right. That's right.
You know, everyone has to just do what they feel is what their calling is.
Yeah.
You know?
And then this this hardcore universal law, fact, whatever, in this realm as it stands now, the reality of quantum creation. In other words, it's out of the bag. It's going to be seen, and what I'm talking about is people experiencing the power of their thoughts, and then and as we come into that's freaking crazy. Like I think sometimes people will say the biggest fear we have is a fear of our own power. Like this is mind blowing when we start to have more and more of the individual playmates, the souls, our brothers, sisters, souls, ourselves, that are taking that pause before they project.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because because even that pause is an intention, and in that intention is a more pure energy, even if what comes out isn't like perfect, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's all the intention, that power of intention. So it really doesn't matter if you have an intention to heal your inner child and you're like, this is what I'm going to do, you will find a way to do it, right? And that intention of change, like I was saying before, we hold on to our identity and we're like, no, like I'm going to, I can't let go of that. It's that fear of going over there and being that powerful being, that multidimensional being that you are, because over there we're like, well, I don't know how to be that person. I don't know what the rules are. I don't know what responsibilities come with that. So I'm just going to stay over here, hold on to my identity. But if you have that intention to be over there, you'll find a way to do it. The teachers will appear. The tools will appear for you to be able to use them to get over there. And that's what I'm saying, right?
Right. They do every day, all day long. It's just a matter of whether we're paying attention. No judgment on myself or anyone else. Have you had much interaction or understanding or anything with the light body, like with your light body, or any collective intel on light body?
What do you mean? Like what?
Well, like in respect to the different layers or the different bodies that compose us.
Yes.
A lot of talk about the light body, what that is and how it operates and what it means then, now, and in the future. Anything on the light body?
No, well, I work with all of the different bodies, like I haven't done too much with the light body, but like I was saying to you before, it's more I work with my clients as well, with the mental body, the physical body, the spiritual body, auras, the layers of the aura, but nothing just specifically on the light body.
So how does so you said the spiritual body, because like some people say 7 chakras, some say 12, some so there's the mental, the emotional, the physical, the spiritual. What else did you? Etheric body.
Yeah.
So this is a really strange question. I was going to ask Morgan. I'm going to. It's strange. It just popped in my head today, and it was like, how do you nurture the etheric body? That popped in my head. I don't know what it means, and I don't know the answer, but there has to be a reason it popped in my head. I don't think it was about 3 nights ago. She took me through a session, and I pulled up all the different bodies in front of me, and it didn't feel. It was about an hour. It was a very good session. It didn't really feel like when I got done with it. I basically felt like, like a little bit off, like you're in dimension or whatever. I didn't see the impact, but afterwards, like say the next 24 hours, I realized how big it was. And then I don't know if that's related, but this morning I was sitting there, reviewing everything, and it just came in. How do you nurture the etheric body?
I think I think what I try to teach my clients is to just see where there's any damage done, right? So you go in, you tune in, you do it through a meditation, and you just connect to your etheric body. And it doesn't have to look a certain way or feel a certain way. You just have to, again, have that intention. You're going in to heal the etheric body, okay? And you can do it with streams of golden light, right? You can visualize streams of golden light traveling through the etheric body and removing any dense energy and healing any cracks or imperfections or whatever is there. And just because you have that intention, Todd, you're actually healing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the way you visualize it and create it, that movie you make in your mind is actually the energy itself. God, I was going to ask you something. You were talking about, I forgot.
Well, what you just said there is that, the mind, it doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. Okay? So if you're going in and you're like healing your etheric body, the mind's going, oh, cool, it's done now. I can open up that energetic flow and it's done. It drops at the bottom. Like I'm dropping that memory of stress in the etheric body. It's gone.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you. Okay, if I do exactly what you said, okay, and I say, I'm going to bring into alignment my upper vertebrae so my channel will be clear, whatever it is, and I go into my alchemic laboratory, the secret place of the Most High, and I send the golden energy and I visualize it and all. And then 2 hours later, the human kicks in and goes, oh, that shit ain't real. But my question is, how do we negate or neutralize that the remnants of doubts and the programming of self-deprecation, even self-sabotage? You know what I mean? Like, how do we create that? I think we can figure that out because we've been doing this since we were little kids. But how do we allow that to take hold? Or I guess another way to put it, how do we not go into or not let the doubt programming neutralize our creation?
Yeah. So this is like parts work. This is what I talk about with my clients about parts work. We have all these different parts of us, right? And then we get into a debate and you're like, oh, this shit doesn't work. And then the other part of you, but I feel so good, it must work. And it's about proving that part of you wrong. Okay? Because what we have is we have this the part of us that doubts. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that part of us is so strong and firm, and is that narrow-minded, old mentality part of us. And maybe he just needs to have his head cracked open too. Maybe he needs to have a debate. Maybe he needs to be proven wrong. And so how do you prove that wrong, right? And what I do with my clients is I'm like, okay, you have this belief. I had one the other day with one of my clients where she's like, she doesn't trust men because of her past experiences. Okay? All men are cheaters. And I'm like, okay, let's make a list of where you get that evidence from. Yeah, actually write it down. And what you do as you start writing, you actually start to realize that doubt, it actually is void. It's a void. Yeah, because you've proven it wrong.
Yeah.
It's just a repetitive thought you've been thinking for the last 40 years. And until you snap it and you give proof to that part of you, then that part of you goes, oh, actually, you're right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I can trust this. No, I can trust I'm a multi-dimensional being that can heal myself just in the same way I've made myself sick.
Yeah.
Yeah? So you got to get really clever with those different parts of you that show up, because that inner critic as well will be there. Like, we're so conditioned to have that inner critic. And we're just going to be like, actually, Anthony, you know what? It's all right. Doesn't matter.
That's right. That's right. We can just let our throat chakra expand just as we do with others, as we've all been getting better at, and just tell our inner asshole to fuck off. in an unconditional love kind of way. But you bring up another thing too. I'm big on buzzwords. Like, I try to repeat to myself every day, or think about it. Humility.
Yes.
What am I not seeing? What can I learn? But another one's trust. And I know trust, to me, or truth is trust. They come from the same, right? There's no, like, as long as I'm not trusting anything outside of me, then there's still room to raise the ceiling for me. There's still a higher vantage point I can get to. And that just seems to get louder every day. And of course it starts with, your things closest to you, but even like some of the topics we talked about that are out there today, it's not about what you're seeing, it's about how does it make you feel? Like if it really is a personal choice how this all unfolds.
Absolutely. And like you said, if I'm not trusting anything outside of me, there's something inside of me that I'm not trusting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the more I trust my inner self, the more I trust. And it's not about, going to someone and sharing all of who you are with them to trust them. It's just about trusting, like, I believe in the flow, Sorry, what were you going to say?
Well, Jennifer Ray, our friend in Australia, says it's 11:11, and I'm looking at the count on the broadcast, and it is exactly 1 hour 11 minutes and 11 seconds. God, I was going to ask you at least one other thing. God, it was good. What you were just talking about. What were you just talking about?
Well, we're talking about trusting externally, and
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, I was going to ask you about this because some people have been talking about it the last few weeks. I've experienced degrees of it or whatever. I don't know how to explain it, but it looks like that there's been some type of higher level of equilibrium that has occurred between masculine and feminine. I think it was catalyzed by another level up of the feminine energy, right? And I'm talking 2 months, 3 months, 6 weeks, I don't know. But it feels a lot like that. It feels like that some of the, through the life experience in regard to the other gender, no matter who you are, there are certain biases and prejudices and perspectives that are overlays to the truth. And I think there's been a shift, and maybe it's her, the energy of her really taking a step forward, which to me, just to kind of sum it up, it feels like that the collective conscious field that we play in had reached a level where maybe she felt comfortable enough to start coming out.
I think so. And I think, again, with the conditioning, we've almost been conditioned to fight each other, right? Yeah. It's like a fight for the power, And I think what has happened as well, Todd, is that as the feminine has risen and healed herself more, she's like, well, I don't need to prove myself anymore. Yeah, I don't need to prove to anyone that I deserve love or I'm worthy of love or I'm worthy of their time and their effort. Like, women have this inner courage where they can be alone and they can be fine being alone. And I think that shift in consciousness for the feminine has been a collapsing of these limiting beliefs where she has needed to prove herself and prove her worthiness. And that's what I've seen unfolding within my own self and with the women around me, and also the men who are deeply in touch with their feminine, who are living through their feminine. So
it's coming. Yeah, I mean, it's obvious. I can see it in the work I do. I can see it in myself. I'm sure people can see it in me over the years, but it's quite humbling. It's extraordinary because, people can tell you things and teach you, attempt to instruct and teach you, but there's nothing, I guess there's nothing until you experience it. And
Absolutely.
maybe you can do some of it in the etheric and the dimension, and yes, but there's something about the physical part of this journey that makes it, you know, it's kind of like an empath's evolution from being the empath ability being a weakness to it becomes a superpower. And the same can be said in regard to what I'm talking about. And I mean, it to me feels it really explosive, because I keep thinking to myself, how many people are really stepping up in all walks of life and saying, I've had enough.
Yeah.
And we all know, because we all have these stories we share on this platform, and there's other platforms out there that do the same, how long it took us for us to get our nerve. You know, I mean, some of us had a lot of help with the teams and successive traumas and so on, but it still took us a while. It's not an easy feat because in order to really find your passion and your alignment, where I say free will aligns with universal will from your own space, in order for that to happen, there's got to be a whole lot of dying. and I've been dying today. Yeah. But
it's painful. It's pain when the ego dies. It is it's painful, and it's raw, and it's it can feel like you're lost. But yeah, you're right. It takes time to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it shouldn't take those that come behind those that open the door. It shouldn't take them as long. I mean, that just makes sense. But man, I tell you what, it's been a long ride, hasn't it?
It has.
I mean, you can feel it, even if somebody doesn't have past life memories, you know, perfect recall, or you can feel this is big work, big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pain makes you a believer.
It does. Well, it you know, and it also teaches you where you never want to be ever again.
Yeah.
You know, so it's definitely a driving factor.
And you need that agitation, right? Because the point we're talking about is different for everyone, but there is and I'm not trying to be funny or rude.
Yeah.
But there is a point where you say, fuck this shit, you know? And it's not the words, it's the energy of, I've had enough.
Yeah,
I'm actually going to choose myself, you know? And that's, I think, what you're talking about when it comes to pain teaching you what you don't want.
Yeah.
That's why we came here. to experience different contexts, points of context, or points of experience, and some you like and some you don't.
Yeah. And you know, and I think, you know, one of the hardest things I ever learned on my journey was to pick myself above everybody else. Choose myself. And you know, I really believe that now more than ever before, we have to learn unconditional love for self. Like, that's what we're here to do. You know, that's what life is all about, is to learn how to love ourselves unconditionally. Because until we do that, we can't love anybody else.
That's true. Well, it's one and the same, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as within without. You know, it's funny because if I think, now this is my own cosmic humor, but if God has a gender, God's a woman. It makes sense to me. It just makes sense to me, and that's just my own thing. But I think about, like, okay, this is bizarre, because anyone that knows how the world works, at the end of the day, she had the final say. Like, it's not in the boardroom or the Oval Office or the Prime Minister's office. It's in the household. It's in the village, right?
Yeah.
And I think about, like, how did this happen? What does this look like? And so you have like a village, you know, like a tribal village, and you know of course the families, right, and the figures, and of course at the center is the mother. Now, if you unplug the father, or you unplug the kid, or the auntie, or you know what I mean? But if you unplug the mother, like, say one day, say there's 50 families, and there was 50 mothers, and all the mothers said, hey, you know what? Fuck this shit. And what happens? They all they all got to, they all have to leave the nest. They all have to become self-reliant. And I feel that's the energy. And I feel that what's happening is, you said it at the beginning, leading the way. Well, it only makes sense. You know, it only makes sense that that's what happens. If you see a mother hen or a mother duck, we used to see them in Hawaii, both of them. The chickens.
Yeah.
You see the mother walking. What do you see? All 12 little chicks walking right behind her in a straight line.
Yeah.
And then the other metaphoric funny thing about Kauai was the roosters. They're all over Kauai, right? All over. They're protected and they run all over the place. And to watch the behavior of the rooster with the hens, like the roosters don't run anything, nothing. They're lucky to be included. You know, I mean, it's hilarious. It's just amazing how things are coming into alignment.
Yes.
So, okay, man, this is great. I hadn't seen you since really the last time we talked. Every now and then I don't get on as much, but I'm surprised. And I think it has to do with the algorithms as time goes on, because I think Facebook minimizes more and more and more, but whatever, you know, we're bigger than that. But I don't tend to see your stuff as much as I used to, but that doesn't mean anything. But yeah, you look great, and I'm glad to see that you're keeping it all together and, you know, keeping it real, because it's so important that we stay real no matter what we're channeling or you know, whatever's happening. You know, so I wish you the best always, and to you and your children.
Thank you.
I look forward to always open to you know, sharing space with you.
Yeah, me too, Todd. I really, like, when Morgan reached out and said, you know, jump on with Todd, I was really excited, because it's been a while since we connected, and I love connecting with you, and I love having these conversations. And of course, you know, one thing I have a deep sense of appreciation for is the divine masculine men. You know, like, I love to connect with men and share this space and share with others. So thank you so much for having me on your show.
Right on.
And is there somewhere we can read I can read all the comments later?
Yeah, well, it's on 10 platforms. So the comments are on all the different platforms. But I would say probably the two you'd want to go look at would be on my page on Facebook, and then at Soulogy One Studios on YouTube. And when you go to watch the YouTube, just click live chat replay. And what I do is I just skip to the very end, and then all the chat messages come up.
Awesome. Okay.
You take care and keep doing what you're doing, and thank you for what you're doing. And I'll see you on this side, the other side, or both.
All right. Bye. Sending lots of love to everyone.
Hey, we'll be back in 36 minutes with Scott Ware, Radiance Magazine. Incredible story. Another